Hello from Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Today we're looking at Judges 9 and 10, and what a mess. If you remember, we were just looking at the story of Gideon, and things went well. He did the conquering, they had peace, he lived a long life, but then he died. And we find that in our cycle of judges, when a judge dies, pretty quickly after, the people start serving a false god. It's as though they need a shepherd to help them go the right way. We need, in fact, the good shepherd to help us go the right way. But anyway, here's Israel, and they dissolve into some petty fighting. Gideon, or Jerubbaal as he's named, had 70 sons, and one of them being Abimelech. And he decides to go kill all his brothers save one, and that brother escapes and runs away, but not before cursing Abimelech. Well, Abimelech is the son of a concubine from Shechem. Abimelech goes to the people of Shechem and says, hey, I'll rule over you. We'll make a go of this. I'll be the king and things will be great. And so for 3 years, he's the king. But don't forget that curses in the Bible are pretty highly thought of and usually come to land. So this curse is hanging out there. Well, Abimelech is going to go do his thing. And we see number 2 that he starts fighting against other people. He fights against Zebul. He fights against the Shechemites, who he's been pals with. He's just making a mess of things. He conquers, yeah. He's got what says worthless fellows around him that will do what he wants. But that doesn't mean it's a good thing. So God is finally going to judge Abimelech for his treachery. Because you see, murder is wrong. He decided to murder his brothers. And so God is going to judge him for that. So Abimelech, after conquering these other 2 bits here, he goes up to this tower. And he's going to take this tower. And but in the middle of the siege, this woman throws a millstone out and crushes the skull of Abimelech. He is going to die from this wound. He asks his sword bearer to kill him instead. So, hey, a man killed me and not a woman. But wow, that was God's judgment. It's very clear that God judged Abimelech for his treachery. So for us, we can't be doing treacherous things. I mean, you name it. We need to be doing what God asks, or we could receive God's judgment. Number 4, after that, we get Tola, who's a judge for 23 years. Doesn't say much about him, but we can only assume it's more of the same. Israel goes away, cries out after they get conquered, like, help us. And Tola comes in and makes it right. 23 years. Jair, Jair for 22 years does the same thing, comes in, fixes it. We only get a small snippet, so we can only assume it's more of the same. And after that, we find out the Philistines are there to make Israel's life more difficult. Now, we've seen them a couple of times previous, that this is conglomeration of cities and places that make up the Philistines. There's 5 kings, it said. And now they're really going to start being the central enemy. They're going to be the enemy here. They're going to be the enemy for a very famous judge we haven't got to yet. David fights against the Philistines. So the Philistines are kind of a thorn in the flesh of Israel. This particular time, they've taken over and they're making everybody's life miserable for 18 years. Well, when your life is miserable, you cry out to God. Yes, please do that. When your life is miserable, cry out to God. But please don't wait till your life is miserable. Cry out to him every day. Serve him every day. Then maybe you'll avoid some of those circumstances that are making your life so difficult. Well, God says to Israel, listen, Israel, you know, I've done all these things for you, and you turn your back and serve these gods. Now you're crying out to me. Go cry out to the gods you've been serving. Ask them to save you. See how that works. Well, eventually they repent And they're ready for a new person to rise up because they have all these enemies surrounding them and a cliffhanger. So we're going to have to catch up tomorrow about how that turns out against the Philistines. But in the meantime, let's jump into chapter 9. And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren, and communed with them, and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it is better for you either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which is Gideon, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. And his mother's brethren spake to him in the ears of all men of Shechem all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for he said, He is our brother. And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal-berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons. These are not good people to be hanging out with, but he's hired them to kind of be his ruffians. And they followed him. And he went unto his father's house at Orpah, and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons, upon one stone. Notwithstanding yet, Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, and he hid himself. So only 1 out of 70 escape the clutches of death here. And that's Jotham, and he's hiding. He goes into hiding. He can't handle this. It's too much for him. Oh, yeah. And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Millo. And he went to Abimelech king, and made the plain the pillar that was of Shechem. And when they told Jotham, he went and stood on top of Mount Gerizim, and lifted up his voice, and cried, and said to him, Hearken unto me, ye men of Shechem, that God may hearken unto you. The trees went forth on a time to anoint king over them, and they said unto the olive tree, Reign thou over us. But the olive tree said unto them, Why should I leave my fatness, wherewith by me they honor God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? So he's telling this kind of parable, kind of fable sort of story about what's going to happen here. And the tree said over the fig, Come thou, reign over us. But the fig said unto them, Should I forsake my sweetness and my good fruit to be promoted over the trees? Because they're setting Abimelech as king. And the tree said unto the vine, Come thou, reign over us. And the vine said, Should I leave my vine and my wine, which cheereth God and man, and go be promoted over the trees? Then all the trees said unto the bramble, Come down, reign over us. And the bramble said unto the trees, If in truth ye anoint me king over you, then come out, put your trust in my shadow. If not, let fire come out of the bramble, and devour the cedars of Lebanon. Now therefore, if you've done truly and sincerely in what you have made, in that you have made Abimelech king, and you have dealt well with Jerubbaal and his house, and have done him according to the deserving of his hands, for my father fought for you, and adventured his life far, and delivered you out of the hand of Midian, and you're risen up against my father's house this day, and have slain his sons 70 upon one stone, and made Abimelech the son of his maidservant king over the men of Shechem, because he's your brother. If ye have then dwelt truly and sincerely with Jerubbaal and his house, then rejoice in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech, and devour the men of Shechem, and the house of Millo. And let fire come out of the men of Shechem, and from the house of Millo, to devour Abimelech. So, hey, if you guys are in the up and up, great. If you guys aren't, may fire come out, and you can devour each other. We'll see how that works out. And Abimelech had reigned 3 years over Israel. Then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. And the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech. And the cruelty done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and their blood be laid on Abimelech their brother, which slew them, and upon the men of Shechem, which aided him in killing his brother. And the men of Shechem set liers in wait for him on top of the mountain, and they robbed all that came along that way. And it was told Abimelech. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, came with his brethren, and went over to Shechem. And the men of Shechem put their confidence in him. And they went out into the fields, and gathered the vineyards, and trode the grapes, and made merry, and went all to their house of their God, and did eat and drink, and cursed Abimelech. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, who is Abimelech, and who is in of Shechem, And Gaal, the son of Ebed, said, "Who is Abimelech, and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is he not the son of Jerubbaal, and Zebul his officer? Should we serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shechem? For why should we serve him? And would that God this people were under my hand, and I would remove Abimelech." And then he said to Abimelech, "Increase thine army, and come out." And when Zebul, the ruler of the city, heard the words of Gaal, the son of Ebed, his anger was kindled. And he sent messengers unto Abimelech privily, saying, "Behold, Gaal, the son of Ebed, and his brethren come to Shechem. And behold, they fortify the city against thee. Now, therefore, up by night, thou and thy people that is with thee, and lie in wait in the field. And it shall be that in the morning, as soon as the sun is up, thou shalt rise early and set upon the city. And behold, when he and the people that is with him come out against thee, then mayest thou do unto them as thou find occasion." And Abimelech rose up, and all the people were with him by night, and they laid in wait for Shechem in 4 companies. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, went out and stood in the entering of the gate of the city. And Abimelech rose up, and the people that were with him lying in wait. And when Gaal saw the people, he said to Zebul, "Behold, they are come down from the top of the mountains." And Zebul said unto him, "Thou seest a shadow of the mountains, as if they were men." Gaal spake again and said, "Behold, see, the people come down in the middle of the land, and another company with them, along by the plain of Meonim." And he said to Zebul, "Where's thy mouth, wherewith thou saidst, Who is Abimelech, that we should serve him? Is not this the people that thou hast despised? Go out, I pray thee, and fight with them." And Gaal went before the men of Shechem and fought with Abimelech. And Abimelech chased him, and he fled before him, and many were overthrown and wounded, even on the entering of the gate. And Abimelech dwelt at Arumah, and Zebul thrust out Gaal and his brethren, that they should not dwell in Shechem. So that didn't work out. Abimelech won. And it came to pass on the morrow that the people went out into the field and told Abimelech, and he took the people and divided them into 3 companies and laid in wait in the field and looked, and behold, the people were coming forth out of the city. And he rose up against them and smote them. And Abimelech and the company that was with him rushed forward and stood in the entering gate of the city. And 2 other companies ran, and all the people that were in the fields, and slew them. And Abimelech fought against the city all that day, and took the city, and slew the people that was wherein, and beat down the city, and sowed it with salt. So when you sow it with salt, it just ruins the land, and nothing can grow. And when all the men of the tower of Shechem heard that, they entered into a hold of the house of the god Berith. And when it was told Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together, Abimelech gat him up on the Mount Zalmon, and he and all the people who were with him. And Abimelech took an axe in his hand, and cut down a bough from a tree, and took it, laid it on his shoulders, and said the people there with him, "What you have seen me do, make haste and do as I have done." And all the people cut down every man his bough, and followed Abimelech, and put them to the hold, and set fire upon them, so that all the men in the tower of Shechem died also, about 1,000 men and women. So they piled all the branches up, and they lit them on fire, huge bonfire. They burned them all out. Then Abimelech went to Thebes, and camped against Thebes, and took it. And there was a strong tower within the city, and thither fled all the men and women, and all they of the city, and shut them up, and gat them to the top of the tower. And Abimelech came unto the tower, and fought against it, and went hard unto the door of the tower to burn it with fire. So he's like, I just did this, I burned them out, gonna do the same thing. But, let's see, and a certain woman cast a piece of millstone upon Abimelech's head and all, to break his skull. Then he hastily called to the young man his armor-bearer, and said to him, "Draw thy sword and slay me, that men say not of me, a woman slew him." And the young man thrust him through, and he died. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man to his place. Thus God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father in slaying his 70 brethren. And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal. Pretty crazy. Chapter 10. And after Abimelech there rose to defend Israel Tola, the son of Puah, the son of Dodo, a man of Issachar. And he dwelt in Shamir in Mount Ephraim, and he judged Israel 23 years, and died, and was buried in Shamir. And after him rose Jair the Gileadite, and judged Israel 22 years. And he had 30 sons that rode on 30 ass colts. And they had 30 cities, and they are called Havoth Jair unto this day, and are in the land of Gilead. And Jair died, and was buried in Chemin. And the children of Israel did again in the sight of the Lord evil, and served Baalim and Ashtaroth, the gods of Syria, the gods of Zidon, the gods of Moab, and the gods of the children of Ammon, and the gods of the Philistines, and forsook the Lord, and served him not. The anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and sold them into the hands of the Philistines, and into the hands of the children of Ammon. And that year they vexed and oppressed the children of Israel. 18 years all the children of Israel that were on the other side of the Jordan in the land of the Amorites, which is in Gilead. They're paying the price. Moreover, the children of Ammon passed over the Jordan to fight against Judah and against Benjamin and against the house of Ephraim, so that Israel was sore distressed. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, said, We've sinned against thee, both because we have forsaken our God, and also served Baalim. And the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Did I not deliver you from the Egyptians, and from the Amorites, and the children of Ammon, and from the Philistines? The Zidonians also, and the Amalekites, and the Maonites did oppress you. And ye cried unto me, and I delivered you out of their hand. Yet you have forsaken me, and served other gods. Wherefore I will deliver you no more. Go, cry out to the gods which ye have chosen. Let them deliver you in your time of tribulation. And the children of Israel said unto the Lord, We have sinned. Do thou unto us whatsoever seemed good to thee. Deliver us only, we pray thee, this day. And they put away the strange gods from among them, and served the Lord. And his soul was grieved for the misery of Israel. God really does love the people. And the children of Israel were gathered together and encamped in Gilead. And the children of Israel assembled themselves together and encamped in Mizpah. And the people and the princes of Gilead said to one another, What man is he who will begin this fight against the children of Ammon? He shall be the head over all the inhabitants of Gilead. So, if you find yourself in a tough situation, get rid of everything you can to serve God and God alone, and do what he asks. And he will have pity on you. It says it right there. Well, left you on a cliffhanger, but we'll see how this turns out. Catch you next time.